right now. Right now, there's a version of you that exists. This version wakes up early, works out, builds the business, writes the book, makes the calls, does the hard things without negotiating. And that version is happy. Actually happy. Not pretending. Not faking IT for social media. Genuinely at peace. But that's not you yet. Right now, you're stuck in the negotiation phase. You know what you should do. The list is clear. But between knowing and doing, there's this gap. This space where dreams die. Where potential rots. Where years disappear. Here's what nobody tells you. That gap isn't a character flaw. It's biology. Your brain is actively working against you, not because it hates you, but because it's trying to save you. From what? From wasting energy, from taking risks, from being uncomfortable. Carl Jung understood something profound. He said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call IT fate. Your procrastination isn't fate. It's your unconscious brain running. Programs you didn't choose. Programs designed for survival, not success. Think about it. Your ancestors who rested instead of wasting energy survived. Your ancestors who avoided risk lived long enough to reproduce. Your ancestors who stayed comfortable didn't get eaten by predators. You are descended from people whose brains said, stay safe, save energy, avoid pain. That's why hard things feel wrong. Your brain interprets difficulty as danger. When you sit down to work on something challenging, your limbic system activates. Stress hormones flood your body. Your brain screams, this is a threat. Stop. Go find something easy. But here's the problem. The world has changed. What kept your ancestors alive is now keeping you average. Comfort used to mean survival. Now it means stagnation. Safety used to mean living another day. Now it means never truly living at all. The modern world has weaponized your biology against you. Every app is designed by teams of psychologists to hijack your dopamine system. Every platform is optimized to keep you scrolling. Every notification is engineered to pull your attention. You're not weak for struggling. You're fighting a rigged game. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. But he lived in ancient Rome. He didn't have a device in his pocket delivering instant gratification every 3 seconds. He didn't have to fight algorithms designed to addict him. So we need a new approach. Not just willpower, not just discipline. We need to trick the hardware. We need to hack the system that's hacking us. That's what the override method is. It's a psychological backdoor. A way to bypass the negotiation entirely. Most productivity advice is useless. IT tells you to just do I. 2R, stay motivated. OR, believe in yourself. That's like telling someone to just be taller. IT ignores the biological reality. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. Your brain cares about conserving energy and avoiding discomfort. Nietzsche said that he who has a why can bear almost any how. True, but what if you have a why and still can't act? What if you know exactly why you should do something and still don't do it? That's not a why problem. That's a how problem. That's a biology problem. The override method works because it doesn't fight your brain. IT tricks. IT uses your brain's own mechanisms against itself. Like martial arts, you don't oppose force with force. You redirect. I use the opponent's momentum. Here's the first principle. Your brain makes decisions based on immediate feelings, not future outcomes. When you think about going to the gym, your brain doesn't calculate the long-term benefits. IT feels the immediate discomfort of getting up, getting dressed, driving there. And it says nitrogen monoxide. But there's a gap, a tiny window, between the thought and the feeling. Gap is where we insert the override. That gap is where we trick the system. Epictetus taught that we don't control what happens to us, but we control how we respond. The override method is about controlling that response before your brain has time to sabotage it. Before the feelings kick in, before the negotiation starts, think about the last time you didn't do something you should have done. The gym, the work project, the difficult conversation. What happened? You had the thought, I should do this. Then immediately, another voice. But I'm tired. But it's hard. But maybe tomorrow. That second voice isn't wisdom. It's your brain trying to conserve energy. And if you listen to it, you will stay exactly where you are. Comfortable, safe, and completely unrealized. Jung also talked about the shadow. The parts of ourselves we reject. For most people, the shadow includes their capacity for discipline, their potential for greatness, their ability to do hard things. They've rejected these parts because embracing them requires discomfort. But what if we could integrate that shadow? What if we could make friends with the part of us that can endure, that can push through, that doesn't negotiate? The override method has 3 phases. First, we reset your baseline. Second, we install the kill switch. Third, we reframe the signal. Each phase builds on the last. Each phase makes the next one easier. And after enough repetitions, the override becomes automatic. You won't need motivation anymore. You won't need to feel like it. You won't need permission from your emotions. You'll just move. You'll just act. You'll become the person who does hard things the same way you brush your teeth, automatically, without drama, without negotiation. This isn't about becoming a machine. This isn't about ignoring your humanity. This is about becoming more human, more capable, more free. Because freedom isn't doing whatever you want in the moment. Freedom is having control over your own behavior. Robert Greene writes about power, about understanding the rules of the game. Here's a rule most people never learn. The person who can control their own impulses has more power than the person who can control others. Self-control is the ultimate power, and self-control isn't something you're born with. It's something you build like a muscle, like a skill, through practice, through repetition, through using the right method. Ready? Let's start with phase 1. Resetting your baseline. This is where most people fail because they skip this step. They try to build discipline on top of a broken foundation. Can't build a house on sand. You need solid ground first. Phase 1 is about resetting your dopamine baseline. And this is going to sound extreme, but hear me out. Your brain right now is like someone who's been eating candy all day trying to enjoy an apple. The apple tastes bland, boring, unsatisfying. Not because apples are bad, but because your taste buds are destroyed. Your dopamine system works the same way. You've been feeding it easy hits all day. Social media, videos, news, messages, gaming, porn, food, delivery. Every few minutes, a little spike. Your brain has adapted at it, now expects constant stimulation. And when that stimulation stops, you feel awful. Sigmund Freud called this the pleasure principle. The mind seeks pleasure and avoids pain. But Freud also understood that mature functioning requires the reality principle, the ability to delay gratification, to tolerate discomfort, to work toward long-term goals, even when it doesn't feel good right now. Modern life has made us old children of the pleasure principle. We can't sit still. We can't be bored. We can't wait. The moment there's friction, we reach for the easy dopamine. And every time we do this, we're training our brain that hard things are intolerable. So here's what we do. We create strategic boredom. Not punishment. Not deprivation. Strategic boredom. We're going to make your brain so hungry for stimulation that even hard work becomes interesting. For the next 7 days, you're going to cut 3 things. Just 3. First, no phone for the first hour after you wake up. Second, nitrogen monoxide entertainment while you eat. No videos, nitrogen monoxide scrolling, just eating. Third, NO, content consumption before bed, nitrogen monoxide videos, no social media, just stillness. That's IT3 rules. Notice I'm not saying delete all your apps. I'm not saying never have fun again. I'm saying create windows of nothing. Windows where your brain gets bored. Windows where it starts looking for something to do. Jordan Peterson talks about the concept of voluntary confrontation with the unknown. When you voluntarily put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you grow. You expand. You become more capable. This isn't suffering for suffering's sake. This is intentional. Discomfort that builds capacity. During these boredom windows, you'll feel something. An agitation, a restlessness, an itch. That feeling is gold. That's your brain looking for stimulation. And if you refuse to give IT the easy stuff, if you refuse the phone, the snacks, the distractions, something amazing happens. Your brain gets creative. IT starts finding interest in things IT previously ignored. That work project, suddenly more engaging. That book, actually interesting. That workout, kind of exciting. Not because these things changed, but because your baseline changed. Plato understood this in his allegory of the cave. People chained in a cave, watching shadows. Think the shadows are reality. When someone escapes and sees the sun, IT hurts their eyes at first. But once adjusted, they can never go back to the shadows. The shadows lose their appeal. You're chained in a cave of easy dopamine. The shadows are entertaining, but they're keeping you from the sun. The first step is leaving the cave. And yes, IT will be uncomfortable at first. Your eyes will hurt. But that discomfort is the price of seeing reality. Here's what will happen during these 7 days. Day 1 and 2, you'll feel anxious, irritable, like something is wrong. That's withdrawal. Your brain is used. 2 constant hits. IT's panicking. Ignore IT. Day 3 and 4. You'll feel bored, deeply bored, uncomfortable in your own skin. Good. Let the boredom sit. Don't fix IT day 5 and 6. Something shifts. You'll notice you can focus longer. Tasks feel less overwhelming. You'll catch yourself actually engaged in something difficult. Day 7. You'll realize you don't miss the constant stimulation as much as you thought you would. You've reset the baseline. Arthur Schopenhauer wrote that life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. Most people are so afraid of boredom that they accept a life of pain. They stay distracted, stimulated, busy, but never satisfied. Never at peace. Never truly engaged with anything meaningful. The override method teaches you to sit with boredom, to befriend IT, to use IT as fuel. Because boredom is just undirected energy. And once you stop wasting that energy on trash, you can direct IT toward treasure. Now let's talk about what you're going to notice. You'll sleep better. When you're not pumping your brain full of stimulation before bed, it can actually rest. You'll think clearer. When you're not starting your day with information overload, your mind stays sharper. You'll feel calmer. Constant stimulation creates constant anxiety. But the biggest change, you'll start craving the work. Not immediately. Not magically. But gradually. You'll notice that deep work feels good. That focused effort creates satisfaction. That building something is more rewarding than consuming something. This is the paradox. By removing easy pleasure, you access deep satisfaction. By embracing strategic boredom, you discover genuine interest. By resetting your dopamine baseline, you unlock your capacity for sustained effort. Machiavelli understood that the ends justify the means. The end here is becoming someone who can do hard things. The means is temporary discomfort. 7 days of strategic boredom to unlock years of capability. That's a trade any rational person should take. Some of you are thinking, this sounds hard. Good. That means you need it most. The people who resist this step are the people most addicted to easy dopamine, the people most trapped in the cave, the people most in need of reset. Others are thinking, I can't do this. My job requires my phone. I need to check messages. Fine. Then modify it. Nitrogen monoxide phone for 30 minutes. After waking. No entertainment during 1 meal a day. Nitrogen monoxide content for 30 minutes before bed. Start smaller. But start. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is creating enough space for your brain to get hungry. Hungry enough that hard work starts looking appetizing, hungry enough that the override method has something to work with. Marcus Aurelius said that the obstacle is the way. Your addiction to easy dopamine is the obstacle. So it becomes the way. By confronting it, by temporarily removing it, you create the conditions for growth, for change, for override. After 7 days, you'll have a reset baseline. Your brain will be sensitive again, ready to find pleasure in effort, ready to engage with difficulty. Ready for Phase 2? The kill switch. Phase 2 is where we get tactical. This is the kill switch, the mechanism that destroys the gap between knowing and doing. The gap where all your potential dies. We're going to close that gap with a simple rule. The 5-second window. Here's how it works. The moment you think of something you should do, you have exactly 5 seconds to start moving your body toward that action. Not 5 minutes. 5 seconds. You count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you move. Why 5 seconds? Because that's how long IT takes for your prefrontal cortex to send the signal before your limbic system can hijack IT. Your thinking brain knows what to do. But your emotional brain is faster at creating excuses. The 5-second window catches your emotional brain off guard. Carl Jung said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. The 5-second rule forces you to face. To act before you can rationalize inaction. To move before you can negotiate. Let's break down what happens in your brain during procrastination. You have a thought, I should work on that project. Immediately, your limbic system activates. IT checks if this action involves discomfort. IT does so. IT generates feelings of resistance, anxiety, dread, fatigue. Then your prefrontal cortex tries to make sense of these feelings. IT creates stories. I'm too tired right now. I'll do better work later. I should check email first. I need to be in the right mood. These stories feel rational, logical, true, but they're just your brain trying to avoid discomfort. The 5-second rule bypasses this entire process. You don't wait for the stories. You don't evaluate the feelings. You just count down and move. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stand up. Walk to the desk. Open the laptop. Grab the weights. Make the call. Taught that IT's not what happens to you, but how you react, that matters. The 5-second rule is about choosing your reaction before your autopilot takes over. IT's about acting consciously instead of reactively. Here's what this looks like in practice. IT's 6 in the morning, your alarm goes off. But I'm tired. 5 more minutes won't hurt. Stop. That's the negotiation starting. Instead, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet on the floor. Stand up. You're moving. You're at your desk. You need to write that report. The thought appears. I should start this now. Then the resistance. But maybe I should organize my desk first. Check those emails. Get coffee. Stop count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open the document. Type the first sentence. You're in motion. Motion creates emotion. Not the other way around. We think we need to feel motivated to act. But actually, we need to act to feel motivated. Action generates its own momentum. The hardest part is always starting. And the 5-second rule makes starting automatic. Nietzsche wrote about the will to power. Not power over others, but power over yourself. The 5-second rule is pure self-mastery. You're proving to yourself that you're in control. That you don't need permission from your feelings. That you are the driver, not the passenger. Now, here's the key. You have to use this immediately. Not tomorrow. Not when you're ready. Right now. The moment this segment ends, there's something you've been avoiding. Use the rule. Count down. Move. Don't think. Don't analyze. Just move. Because here's what happens. When you successfully override once, you prove to yourself it's possible. You create evidence. And evidence changes belief. One successful override makes the next one easier. 2 makes the third easier. After 10, it starts feeling natural. After 30, it becomes automatic. Robert Greene talks about the law of boldness. Boldness creates its own momentum. Hesitation creates anxiety. When you hesitate, you give your brain time to talk you out of it. When you move boldly, quickly, decisively, you don't give fear time to speak. The 5-second window is boldness made into a system. It's courage made automatic. You're not being brave for 5 minutes. You're being brave for 5 seconds. Anyone can be brave for 5 seconds. Jordan Peterson says that you should do what is meaningful, not what is expedient. The 5-second rule helps you do this, because what's meaningful is almost always uncomfortable, and what's expedient is almost always easy. By moving within 5 seconds, you choose meaning over comfort. Let's talk about what happens after you move. Let's say you counted down and started the workout, or opened the document, or made the call. At first, it still feels hard. Your brain is still generating resistance. But something interesting happens about 2 to 3 minutes in. The resistance starts to fade. Not completely, but noticeably, because your brain realizes you're not actually in danger. The threat was imaginary. And once you're in motion, staying in motion is easier than starting. This is Newton's first law applied to human behavior. An object in motion stays in motion. Sigmund Freud understood that the unconscious mind drives most of our behavior. The 5-second rule makes the unconscious conscious. IT interrupts. The automatic pattern IT creates a moment of choice. And in that moment, you can choose differently. Here's what you'll notice after using this for a week. You'll stop dreading things as much. Because you know you have a tool. You know that nitrogen monoxide matter how you feel. You can count down and move. The dread comes from feeling powerless. The rule gives you power. You'll also notice you accomplish more. Not because you're working harder, but because you're not wasting time in the negotiation phase. Most people spend 30 minutes negotiating with themselves. Before doing 10 minutes of work, you'll just do the 10 minutes. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. The 5-second rule is the expression of that power. You can't control how you feel, but you can control whether you let those feelings stop you. The rule works for everything. Working out, eating healthy, studying, creating, having difficult conversations. Anything that requires you to do something uncomfortable. The pattern is always the same. Thought, countdown, movement. Results? Some people will say this is too simple. That real change requires deeper work. Therapy. Understanding root causes. Processing emotions. Maybe. But you know what also creates change? Doing the thing you've been avoiding. Action creates clarity. Movement creates momentum. Results create confidence. This isn't instead of deeper work. This is the bridge to deeper work. Because you can't do deeper work if you can't even start. The surface work. You can't heal your relationship with discipline if you can't make yourself go to the gym. The 5-second rule is the kill switch. IT kills the negotiation. IT kills the excuses. IT kills the gap between knowing and doing. And once that gap is closed, you become unstoppable. Ready for Phase 3? Reframing. The signal. Phase 3 is about changing how you interpret discomfort. Right now, when something feels hard, your brain says, "Stop. This is wrong. You shouldn't feel this way." We're going to rewire that interpretation. We're going to make discomfort mean something different. Arterskopener. Believe that suffering is inevitable. That life is essentially painful. But he also said that the wise person accepts this and finds meaning in the struggle. The override method takes this further. We're not just accepting discomfort. We're reframing it as evidence of growth. Think about physical exercise. When you lift weights, your muscles burn. They hurt, but you've learned to interpret that pain as positive. You've learned that burn means growth. That soreness means progress. You actually seek out that feeling. You chase IT. We're going to do the same thing with mental effort, with emotional discomfort, with psychological friction. We're going to teach your brain that these feelings aren't warnings. They're confirmations that you're doing something worthwhile. Carl Jung talked about integrating the shadow, about making peace with the parts of yourself you reject. For most people, one rejected part is their capacity to endure, to push through discomfort, to do hard things. We reject this because IT requires pain. But what if pain isn't the enemy? What if pain is the price of admission, the gatekeeper that keeps out everyone who isn't serious? When you reframe pain this way, IT stops being something to avoid. IT becomes something to respect, even welcome. Here's the practical application. You sit down to work. Within 2 minutes, you feel resistance. That familiar feeling of wanting to do anything else. Old interpretation. This feels bad. I should stop. New interpretation. This feeling means I'm growing. This is where change happens. You're at the gym. The weights feel heavy. Your muscles are screaming. Old interpretation, THIS, is too hard. I should quit. New interpretation. This discomfort is building strength. This is what transformation feels like. You're having a difficult conversation. You feel anxious, uncomfortable. Want to avoid ITOLD? Interpretation. This anxiety means, I shouldn't do this. New interpretation. This anxiety means this matters. I'm facing something important. Jordan Peterson teaches that you should voluntarily confront what frightens you. That by doing so, you grow stronger. The reframe makes this voluntary confrontation easier, because you're not just enduring pain. You're recognizing IT as growth. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But I'd add this. He who reframes the how stops needing to bear it. When you reframe discomfort as evidence of progress, you stop bearing it and start embracing IT. Here's a powerful exercise. Every time you feel resistance while doing something hard, say this out loud. This is the feeling of growth. This is where others quit. This is what makes me different. Repeat IT until you believe IT, until it becomes automatic. Your brain learns through repetition and association. Right now, IT associates discomfort with danger. We're going to create new associations. Discomfort equals growth. Resistance equals progress. Pain equals transformation. After enough repetitions, these become your default interpretations. Robert Greene writes about the laws of human nature. One law is that we move away from pain and toward pleasure. But here's the secret. We can redefine what counts as pleasure. Deep satisfaction from hard work can become more pleasurable than easy distraction. The reframe changes everything because IT changes the reward system. Your brain releases dopamine not based on objective reality, but based on your interpretation of reality. If you interpret difficulty as good, your brain rewards you for choosing difficulty. Think about people who love challenging themselves, marathon runners, entrepreneurs, artists. They've all reframed discomfort. They don't suffer through their work despite the pain. They do their work because of the pain? The pain is proof they're pushing boundaries. Epictetus taught that IT's not things that disturb us, but are judgments about things. The difficulty of a task isn't the problem. Your judgment, that difficulty is bad, is the problem. Change the judgment, change the experience. Let me give you a mental model. Imagine two people lifting the same weight. Person A thinks, "This is torture. Why am I doing this?" Person B thinks, "Every rep is building the person I want to become." Same weight, same physical sensation. Completely different experience. The reframe makes hard things enjoyable. Not in the moment, necessarily, but in the meaning you extract from the moment. You feel resistance, and instead of shrinking from IT, you think, good. This is where I separate myself from average. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind is everything, that you can find peace even in chaos if your mind is right. The reframe is about getting your mind right about difficulty, about seeing IT not as obstacle, but as opportunity. Here's what happens after you reframe consistently for 30 days. Tasks that used to feel overwhelming start feeling like challenges. Challenges you're excited to face, not because they got easier, but because you changed what they mean. That email you've been avoiding, still uncomfortable to write, but now that discomfort signals importance rather than danger. That workout, still hard, but now the hardness proves you're getting stronger. That business call, still scary, but now the fear confirms you're growing. Plato believed that the greatest knowledge is self-knowledge. The reframe gives you deep self-knowledge. You learn that you're capable of more than you thought. That discomfort is survivable. That growth requires pain. That you're stronger than your feelings. The three phases work together. Phase 1 resets your sensitivity. Phase 2 gives you the tool to start. Phase 3 changes how you interpret the experience. Together, they create a system. A system that makes hard things not just possible, but inevitable. You're not trying to become disciplined. You're becoming someone for whom discipline is natural. You're not fighting your brain anymore. You're working with IT, tricking IT, redirecting IT, using its own mechanisms to achieve your goals. This is the override method. Not motivation, not willpower, not hoping you'll feel like IT someday. A system, a framework, a way of operating that makes excuses irrelevant and action automatic. TBS Park. This works regardless of your starting point. Doesn't matter if you've failed 1,000 times before. Doesn't matter if you think you're lazy or undisciplined or weak. Those are just stories. And stories can be rewritten. Starting today, you have the tools. Reset, baseline, through strategic boredom. Install the 5-second kill switch. Reframe discomfort as growth. Do this consistently, and in 6 months, you won't recognize yourself. In a year, other people won't recognize you. The version of you that does hard things without negotiating. That person is waiting. Not in the future, right now. Underneath the excuses and fear and hesitation, that person is already there. The override method just removes what's covering them up. So here's your choice. You can close this video and go back to negotiating with yourself, back to knowing what to do but not doing it, back to comfortable stagnation. Or you can count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and become who you already are.